Hey folks, this is the first installment or episode of this yet-to-be-named news segment on the channel where I'm going to be talking about some things that have happened in the history, museum, and archaeology world over the last month or so. There's always a lot to talk about, so it's a lot easier to do it this way instead of doing a bunch of individual short videos, and this way we can all stay informed and I can also get my 2 cents in on all of these topics. This is kind of an experiment. I'm just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall, so if you get to the end or even like the midway point of this video and you think to yourself, yeah, this is some good content, I'd like some more, please let me know in the comments or even just like this video, because if I don't see that this video does well, or if I don't think that people are interested, I won't waste my time and I won't do this again. So if you do like this, please let me know. I figure we might as well jump into it though. I have a lot to talk about today, and I figured a great place to start with would be at the British Museum, because they always seem to be up to something. So, for context, the British Museum currently has an exhibition on titled China's Hidden Century, and it explores China in the 19th century. The exhibition is underpinned by a 4-year research project supported by the Arts and Humanities Research Council, and led by the British Museum and London University in collaboration with over 100 scholars from 14 different countries. The controversy lies around an early 20th century revolutionary and poet by the name of Qiu Jin. More specifically, the controversy lies around her poems and the translations that were used in the exhibition. The translations were done by a fellow Canadian by the name of Yilin Wang, and they were used without their permission. For those not in the know, this is copyright infringement, and it's also just generally kind of shitty because Yilin was not acknowledged or compensated for their translations. Yilin reached out to the British Museum asking what they were going to do about it, which resulted in the British Museum pulling the translations from display and advertising materials, while still refusing to acknowledge the work that Yilin had done. I did read that there was a little bit of compensation for Yilin for the period that the translations were being used on display, but I highly doubt it was a lot of money, and I still think that this was handled extremely inappropriately by the museum. I find it ridiculous that there were 100 scholars from 14 different countries who were all working on this exhibition, and not a single one thought about copyright infringement and where these translations came from and the ethics and things behind using them without compensation. Just kind of wild to me. I want to end this story with Yilin's words. No one enjoys taking on institutions with colonial history for fun. Sure, there has been a lot more visibility for Qiu Jin as a historical figure, but the landscape of literary translation has not improved in any way for women of color and queer folks. The people whose careers are benefiting from this are the people who got funding, credit, and resources, while translators, writers, academics of color are being erased and exploited. I have added Yilin's coffee into the description of this video, as well as a link to their upcoming book, The Lantern and the Night Moths, so please go and check out those links and support them if you are able to. The United States has rejoined UNESCO. Again! What is UNESCO? Well, according to Wikipedia, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization is a specialized agency of the United Nations, aimed at promoting world peace and security through international cooperation in education, arts, sciences, and culture. The reason I am talking about it is because of their World Heritage Program, which protects and acknowledges cultural sites across the globe. After almost 5 years of absence from UNESCO, President Joe Biden announced that the US would be rejoining the organization in an effort to curb China's influence in the UN. In the absence of the United States, China had become the biggest financial backer of UNESCO. The United States originally left UNESCO in 2017 when then-President Donald Trump withdrew their membership after citing an anti-Israel bias. But this actually isn't the first time that the United States has left and then rejoined UNESCO. In 1984, Ronald Reagan canceled their UNESCO subscription, except his reasoning was that it was corrupt, anti-America, and pro-Soviet Union. The United States rejoined UNESCO in 2003 under the Bush administration, but I will be very curious to see how long they maintain their membership this time around. We are headed to Italy for this next story, in fact, to one of the biggest tourist spots in the world, the Colosseum. The construction of the Coliseum was completed in the year 80 AD, and this is where gladiatorial fights, naval battles, and other entertainment for the Roman populace was held. It has survived thousands of years of rough weather, renovations, tourists, and that brings us to 2023, where in the last month, 3 different people have been caught carving into the walls of this ancient structure. The first was a British tourist who was caught carving his and his girlfriend's name into a wall, and he has since then issued an apology and claimed ignorance of the fact that the Colosseum is ancient. He's either extremely stupid or he's trying to weasel his way out of the consequences. Either way, not a great look. It was shocking enough to hear that this happened once, but it's actually happened at least 2 more times since our British friend first carved his and his girlfriend's names into the walls, because 2 teenage girls on different field trips were caught doing the same thing, carving their name into the stone before being caught by security or one of their teachers. Despite the fact that you risk a €15,000 fine and up to 5 years of prison time, people are still willing to risk it to deface heritage sites, and unfortunately I don't think that this is going to stop anytime soon. You would think that standing in one of the oldest and best preserved structures in the world would humble you a little bit, but some people just see these places as amusement parks and think that they can get away with this sort of thing without consequences. We are going to head back over to jolly old England for this next news story, but we are not stopping at the British Museum. Instead, we are going to be talking about the Young Victoria and Albert Museum, which is a branch of the Victoria and Albert, or V&A Museum, and they've had a little bit of a rocky start to their reopening. Some materials and literature were removed from display and exhibition that express support for trans rights and explore queer identities. This decision was allegedly made by Tristram Hunt, the museum's director, but there are a number of museum union members fighting back against the decision to remove these pieces. A meeting was held between these union members and Tristram to try and get these pieces put back up, but ultimately their request was rejected. The letter sent to union members states that this decision undermines the V&A's ability to expand our audiences, that the decision is not in line with the V&A's values, and is of a disservice to the visitors we serve and a direct affront to trans visitors and staff. This is still developing, but Tristram has shown his true face, and we will see what happens next. Instead of just leaving up the bloody poster, Tristram now has the entire union against him, so we will see how this shakes out. To end on a much lighter note, though, I thought I would share something that made a lot of people very happy, and I thought that we would dip into the archaeological world for a moment. About a month ago, a Roman fresco was discovered in Pompeii, a giant archaeological park that was preserved in the ash and pyroclastic flow of the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in the year 79 AD. The fresco depicts a goblet of wine and a silver platter with a flatbread with various toppings on it, which at first glance looks remarkably like a pizza. Academics, of course, immediately jumped out of the woodwork, and if we go to the Smithsonian Magazine to hear what they have to say, it's missing tomatoes, which wouldn't arrive in Italy until the 1500s and wouldn't be widely eaten in the country until the 19th century, owing to a belief that the newly introduced fruit was poisonous. It also lacks mozzarella. Instead, the focaccia bread is topped with pomegranate, a fruit resembling a date, spices, and other condiments that could be an early type of pesto. Whether it is a distant relative of pizza or not, I thought it was a really fun discovery and I wanted to share it with you, so bon appetit, I guess. That was the last story that I had for you today, though. If you really enjoyed this kind of shorter form content, this little news wrap up, please let me know, and if enough people like this video and are engaged with it, then I will consider doing it again next month. If there is something that you feel like I should have talked about, also please let me know. But in the meantime, wherever you are, thank you for joining me, and I hope that you have a wonderful day or evening, and I will see you next time.